Okay, let's start. So I'm glad to welcome all of you on this session. So it has a specific title, so unrecent, and sorry for that. So unspecified, humanitarian, and social research as well about present and future. Why it's called unspecified? First of all, in the current situation, so you can see that there is no strong borders between social studies, humanitarian studies, and business studies as well as a part of social studies. So also, this session is not about optimistic, silver lining, and etc. So I believe that we should be brave enough to face brutal reality and not be like toxic positive, So, and I think that all of the participants today, all speakers, did a great job reflecting the reality as it is. And as you will see in the session, so it will be separated in two parts, like a play. So the first one will be about on-demand economy and social structure. So you can see the business study and sociology and another humanitarian sciences just like do not have strong borders now. And the second part will be about new human behavior trends, including organizational behavior as well, and also mankind in general. And I would just want to add one beautiful quote by classic of sociology and philosophy, Pierre Bourdieu, that social sciences are a weapon against social inequality and injustice. So I think that this romantic quote can be a kind of prologue for this beautiful session. So let's start with the on-demand economy part. And I'm happy to see you, Julia. So Julia Bezus is an expert in branding and marketing. So, and she will deliver a beautiful intro on on-demand economy. So, Julia, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. So actually a few words about my expertise. I was working for a few years in Coca-Cola companies. We were dealing with the marketing different strategies. So there were a lot of campaigns, and also it was not only Russian market, it was different markets. And then I went to the PwC, and I was working in the marketing as well for a few years there. And also I have an experience in the Condé Nast. It is a publishing house of such magazines as Vogue, GQ, Tatler, Adem, and Glamour. And I was doing a strategy for work, as it was actually a really interesting experience, as a lot of I realized that the world is really changed, and the social medias are really influence on the society and behavior of us. So I have a little presentation for you. I guess we will have a really good public talk today, and it will be productive. So I'm going to share the presentation in a few seconds. And I would like to start with a quote, as Elizaveta started her speech. With the quote, and my quote is about Twitter co-founder F. Williams. He recently said that the internet makes human desires more easily attainable. In other words, it offers convenience. Convenience on the internet is basically achieved by two things: speed and cognitive ease. If you study what the really big things on the internet are, you realize that are masters at making things fast and not making people think. So really, the internet influence on us really fast. We have, different spheres of interest, and also we have new technologies, and the internet actually made our life in some way better and easily attainable. And also, as Williams said, it makes us not really think. So the companies win if it have really fast and not making people think decision. So, and speaking about some statistics from McKinsey, they said that digital adoption grew in Europe and the United States in 6 months, and you can see different, markets, entertainment, utilities, public sector, and we have a lot of growth. For instance, insurance grows approximately in 46%, and it's a lot. So actually, a lot of companies started to think how they can develop their strategies in the online, and also how they can communicate with the audience, and also actually that create an on-demand economy. We have a lot of decisions in the last previous years. For instance, in Russian market, we have Vkusville, which have a really fast delivery. Also, we have Delivery Club, Wildberries, and other companies which really growing fast, approximately in the COVID-19, when a lot of people starting to be in the houses. They started to think more about where they are living, and they started to think more about their convenience. So I have three consequences of that. So the rapid development of technology have created an economy on demand. Say, and what we can see from the market, what can I see from the communicating with a lot of different companies? I can see that the pleasure of receiving services when they need it, rather than wasting time waiting. So a lot of people started thinking fast about services, and they need it in approximate time. So the second sentence is about people want to use, not to own. For instance, car sharing is a great example for me. So it's really widespread in Moscow and other cities, and actually in the world. And PwC estimates that sharing services will generate up to 335 billion in revenue by 2025. And actually, for now, it's only around 20 billions dollars in revenue, so it will grow really significant. And the third conclusion is about to be simple and effective products, and they are really wins. So it helps people make decisions faster. So as I said, I was communicating with a lot of companies from different markets, and of course, one of the market is on-demand market. And one of my cases, I will tell you about it. It's really, it's really interesting experience. it's a brand. They called Origami Chocolate. So they are doing a decision for the people. For instance, you have such situation. You don't have a gift for your colleague or for your friend. So this service helps you to find really fast a really good gift for your friends. So it's kind of on-demand economy. So you can book it online at present, and this service will come to you in a few, I guess, in 1 hour, and it will take you a gift which you ordered. So, and this is a startup. This is Russian startup actually, and they have investments from really big companies. For instance, from CEO of Get Taxi. So and actually Get Taxi is also on-demand company. Which develops themselves in on-demand economy. So I will tell you some insights from the brand strategies that I did for this company. And actually, they have really, difficult situation in the market. Their brand position was really complicated. They believe that if they make it actually more complicated, more privileged people will came to them and will buy their product. But it is not, it was not a good deal. So what strategy do we use to enhance brand position on the market? Step number one, simple and clear brand message. So we were trying to make it clear, and we started to think what should it be, and we choose for those who are important. So it makes clear that we are concentrating on the communications, and also we're concentrating on the people who are important. And you can, for instance, give a gift for person who is important for you. Step number two, emphasize the advantage of a complete gift. So actually, as I said, it's kind of a really interesting service which helps you to contribute the actually complete gift. And we said that this is a full-fledged, high-quality gift that will bring pleasure and new emotions to you and the people who are important to you. And step number three is highlight the fast delivery. So it's really, really, really important for people who live in on-demand economy to have a fast delivery. So Origami Chocolate, it's the name of the brand, helps you feel calm. You don't have to worry about the gift; it will be delivered in time. So we were concentrating actually on the feelings, to feel calm yourself. And the last slide is about 4-sentence review on main marketing trends on demand economy. The first one is behavioral trends are changing rapidly. So we should, understand it, and we should clearly trust it. So interviews with potential target audience are essential for making the right decisions in the marketing. For instance, I provide a lot of interviews when we doing a marketing positioning and also brand strategy for the brands. So I can have more than 15 interviews per day with different clients in order to understand what the values people have and what the demands they want. The second one is the delivery time of service of product do matter in on-demand economy, and that's 100% right. So people do not really want to wait. They want to get the product fast. So it may be a crucial advantage over competitors. The third one is make simple and clear brand positioning. As I said, Origami Chocolate did a really complicated brand strategy, and when we decided to make it simple and clear, the sales were definitely increased. So do not use complicated messages to audience. It may disturb clients. And the last one is that people want share, not own. So sharing economy is growing rapidly. So if you will think about business in on-demand economy, you will definitely should think about sharing economy and maybe sharing brand. So that's all for presentation, and I will be really fascinated to take part in a discussion and have a really good insights with all you.
Julia, thank you very much for your presentation. So probably some of our participants want to ask any questions on the presentation. So I think that all student participants are too nervous because they're too nervous, like too excited to start their presentations or their speech. So, and let me introduce the first student speakers. So also this presentation will be on on-demand economy and another issues. So Daria Muzichenko and Elizaveta Nagavkina. Go ahead. Just Elizaveta, Daria.
Well, I'm waiting for Dasha to switch on the presentation.
I see. So
one sec.
That's fine. So I just want to say that your presentation will just be a good, I don't know, fresh start after an introduction and some cases, some basic concepts. So, and you will just have your own small specific research. So, and I'm excited you to share it. So, and topic presented by Daria and Elizaveta is how on-demand consumer behavior has triggered the operational activity of commercial and non-commercial organizations.
Okay, so I will switch on the presentation as Daria obviously has some difficulties with it. One sec. So
okay, go ahead. Yes, I do.
Oh, thankfully. Okay. So let me turn on my video so you can see my face. Okay, so our topic is changes in business and revolution of their organizations, operation and supply chains triggered by on-demand consumer behavior. And we will start with some small theory and then move on to the more practical approach according to businesses. So the first slide, do you see the next slide or you don't? Okay, it works like this.
I see the first slide.
Okay.
Yes, now I see the second slide. On-demand economy premises.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the one. So basically, the on-demand economy is defined as the economic activity created by digital marketplaces and technology companies to fulfill our need to buy something, to fulfill consumer demand. So the on-demand economy is also sometimes referred to as the access economy, and provides a convenient way to provision goods and services to those who are in the market for them. With the consumer behavior changing to prioritize fast, simple, efficient experiences, the on-demand economy is growing at unparalleled pace. And on the slide, you can see some prerequisites, or how we ended up with this type of economy. We have constant digitalization, and a growing demand as lower poverty levels occur around the globe. Then we have, unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic with all the lockdowns and the growing demand to provide services door to door, and shifts in consumer behavior. Now, for a factual situation, we have increased scalability and accessibility. And by that, I mean both consumers have more options to choose from, and businesses now have an opportunity to cover territories or consumers that they couldn't using the brick and mortar business model. Then we have better personalization due to all the data analyzed and collected, higher dependency from the services. Here I'm evidently speaking of the consumers and users of the services, and challenging mindset for traditional models of businesses, as now consumers are more picky and wait for fast and comfortable and convenient service at every part of their life. And the prospects, which I tried to foresee, but they could be wrong, new types of payments can be introduced on the on-demand economy market, for example, by paying just by your face or by digital currency. Then growth of on-demand business models across the globe, losses of jobs and restructuring of some business industries, and of course, loss of status of inviolable, undisclosed data by personal data. And by that I mean that we disclose our personal data and information in order to get access to those services provided by on-demand economy business model. So moving on to some statistics. Basically, here you can see the exact numbers provided by Burson and Marsteller's on-demand economy survey. And I shall say that on-demand economy has swiftly taken all over the world and over the traditional business models by serving people with best service, with serving people with what they want, how they want it, where, when they want it. And statistics show that this new trend called on-demand or access economy has changed significantly the way businesses serve people, and has thus become maybe the most talked about trend over the last few decades, probably. Here you can also see the examples of businesses that show how on-demand economy actually works. And here I wanted to clarify the use of such terms and of such terms as on-demand economy, sharing economy, and also gig economy. We often use them synonymously, while on-demand economy is like an umbrella term for all of those things in one way or another. And just to make things clear, you can see the pyramid or a diagram on the slide, which show that on-demand economy is simply the biggest term, and it includes the characteristics of both gig economy and share economy. Those terms talk about who or what is fulfilling the service, while on-demand economy includes it all. So basically, sharing economy, in sharing economy, resources are shared. If I'm not interested or I'm not using my garage or my apartment, it could be rented by someone else. And we can see examples like Airbnb or all the apps for car sharing are all examples of the sharing economy. Then for the gig economy, it's the crowdsourced economy, which is driven by large numbers of independent workers in temporary positions. It's like the companies which use that, we could see it on the previous slide, like Profi.ru. They use all the workers who work independently and provide their services, for example, the delivery guys and so on, who participate in fulfilling the on-demand economy business model. So that I would add also, if you truly will remember something from my short speech, let it be the mere fact that in on-demand economy, nobody wants to wait for anything. Whenever you're calling a car or you're ordering a meal, for example, and you want it to arrive as soon as possible. You want confirmations. You want even real time live alerts of how your delivery guy is moving across town to get you this meal you ordered. And basically the instantaneous experience, which is essential in on-demand economy, provides the fact that services need to have a very tight, reliable, computing internet layer. It needs to be fast. It needs to be available in unreliable circumstances and environments, and in most cases, it needs to be mobile first. Then moving on to my colleague Dasha.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for the instant part. And I would like to add a few words about the supply chain and the risks on-demand economy causes in the current situation. So as Lisa said, that all of our customers and consumers, they want to have services and they want to have some items or goods like really fast, of good quality, safe, sound, and quick. So that means that we can properly manage our stocks, our inventory, our warehouses, and our shipping procedures and delivery procedures. And we can create new job places for people in the economy, because when people order something, we need like couriers who will deliver things directly to our customer. So just a boost for economy in whole, and it's a great opportunity for many people to take part in this value chains. Nevertheless, there are some major risks companies and business and societies should take into consideration, and some of them are not that clear. But when we talk about our cities, and like last year, Lisa and I prepared a topic about post-COVID cities, and actually in a big city, the problem is driving, because when we are on on-demand economy, we're taxi, the Uber, we are Yandex.Lavka or something like this. We work with many people, and we cannot be like quite sure that those people would obey the safety rules, and like there can be many accidents when delivering things. So it should be like clearly managed for any company who wants to deal with it. What is more, that is the safety problems, and some couriers they have unsupervised access to customer homes. That can be a real problem actually, like on the long term, and it can cause some suits and some concerns from people. And nevertheless, some couriers get some very sensitive information about what food, what drugs, what other things people consume, and that is why they should be like properly packed and packaged. So this is a thing to consider. Then we're talking about the supply chain. What is more, like there's also there can be a problem with the people with couriers going to some premises, private premises. It can cause some problems, some criminal acts, and it should be properly supervised by the companies. Like there should be proper rules for all the people who deliver goods. There should be not offensive, but they should be clear and manageable. What is more, another problem is about people who works in the sharing economy. When they work in the sharing economy, that means that the company and the business is not responsible, for example, for their pension, for their wages, for their insurance, for their health, for them being injured, for them being not feeling well enough to continue working. And that is why there should be like special contracts or special funds from which, for example, our on-demand taxi drivers can get some help in case they need it. So that is to make on-demand economy more human-oriented. And I think that is really important, and many companies like use it. And for us to have a developing and like working on-demand services, we should take it into consideration. And another major, the fifth factor I consider to be the most important one, is about the security and about the data security. So can you switch to the next slide, please, Liza? So on-demand economy.
Did it switch or not?
No, not yet. But okay, I'll start that. When we're talking about the on-demand economy, we usually deal with many sensitive information from people, like their names, addresses, phone numbers, email, like other things. And like it is very important for people. They do not mind if somebody knows where they live, because some couriers know where they live. And people have this, well, they divide. They consider it like those people as a function, and there happens the separation. So sometimes people they don't think that that is something unsafe. Especially in Russia, we have a huge trust to the fintech and to the food tech. People in Russia believe in technology more than they believe, for example, to the governmental structures. And that is why there is some shocking news, like we know, like Yandex.Lavka experienced data leakage a few weeks ago. And actually, it's a very bad reputational sign, because there were data from all the people who made orders, including children, sometimes adolescents, sometimes teenagers and kids. And that is that gave them the opportunity to create some cyber attacks, to some phishing, because they know the email address of people. And that is like a huge problem, especially from the except from the physical harm on-demand economy can create. There is also a digital harm, or like data leakage harm, which can later lead to the problems in people's life. And that is why there are some solutions, like there should be third-party risk management and a team of experts and analysts who would work on this, and who would and business should invest money, and effort in order to prevent such incidents. Also, there should be like a safety strategy. Like there should be clearly identified all the sets of sensitive data, and there should be a flexible support available, so the organizations can scale their efforts quickly and respond quickly to some like accidents like this, and be cost efficient at the same time. So we wanted to say that it is a manageable risk, and all the risk we have mentioned before, they're actually manageable. But anyway, we should like stay alarmed and see that in a rapidly changing world, especially like now, it's just very important to think about the safety and about the risks, because any crisis causes more risks, and some risks which are in our blind area. We don't know, and we don't regard many things as risks now, but we should be very attentive to them because they can be a great threat in the future. So I guess that is all for today we wanted to tell you. And here you can see our beautiful pictures. And so you do not hesitate to contact us via messages on Telegram, and like otherwise you can reach us via email. So it was a pleasure to communicate with you. Yeah, thanks.
Daria, Elizaveta, thank you very much for your performance. And I guess that some participants overcome their performance anxiety, curiosity wins, and they have some questions.
Yes, good evening. Dasha and Lisa, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really captivating. And I have just one question. You said that the risks of on-demand economy are manageable, but anyway, I wanted to wonder whether these risks can make the trend of on-demand economy short-term. What do you think?
So you think you're asking about the risks in the short term? Like, can you please clarify your question?
I mean, do you think that the risks that you mentioned can make the trend of on-demand economy short-term?
I can answer.
I don't think so, because I think that on-demand economy is with us for a long time. Well, of course, there can be some black swans, like flying from nowhere and changing the whole world. But I think that on-demand economy is, there are many actors who benefit from the on-demand economy. So I don't think that in the short term, we'll see the decline of it. I think that maybe there's a middle time, or maybe we'll see some changes like in a year or two. But for example, for the next, I think up to the end of the 2022, the on-demand economy is still with us.
Yeah, and I would say that the prospects of this model are, they are outweighing the risks and potential losses of participating in this chaos. Plus, I think that some characteristics of on-demand economy will probably change in the short or long-term prospects, like how we pay, how the goods and services are being delivered, how we get information from the services, how we provide them, and what information exactly do we provide for them. But the trend will stay, obviously. It's too comfortable to get rid of it.
Thank you.
Yes, it is, I guess. So probably...
we have a question from Julia.
Great. So, Julia, go ahead.
I would like to commend the presentation. It was, really good. It was kind of a brief and actually excellent determination about market. So I have a question. How do you think will on-demand companies will the on-demand companies grow during the crisis? How do you think about it?
Well, it's hard to say because the crisis isn't probably over. Maybe it will be bigger in the nearest future, but it will face some pitfalls as the income of different
degrees. So there's just things on the surface. I think that people would just go to the supermarket themselves because it's cheaper, and they would go to the subway or they'll use some public transport instead of using taxi. I think we'll experience the short maybe the shortage of demand, and maybe like the form of the on-demand economy will change, especially like here in Russia.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. And actually, I have some data about it. Actually, my colleagues collect it for some reasons, and from Yandex Market, they were collecting the data, and they said that actually, speaking on-demand companies. In food retail is really growing, so in crises. So people tend to, especially in big cities, they tend to, to have a meal and deliver it, for instance, from delivery club. So it's kind of interesting, really data, because it's not evident, but we have data about it. So thank you for your presentation. It was really good.
I can add to that, as I work in a big international company right now in e-commerce, and I also have data, and we found evidence that people, especially in crisis like this in our country, they tend to spend more to ease the nerves they right now have, but eventually the trend will flatten. And also some sums for example, tech suppliers or supplies of food for your pets and so on, they also rocketed during the first 4 weeks of all the situation, and then they lowered eventually. So probably after 4-5 months, still people will spend a little less. I believe that will be true.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you for your attention and for your questions. It was a pleasure.
Oh, so thank you very much for your discussion. So it was really exciting. And as Daria said, on-demand economy is too comfortable, but this comfort can negatively affect social structure. So, and next speakers will talk on it. So Suzy Martirosyan and Marina Kazantseva with the topic like how on-demand economy brings about social atomization on the example of streaming services that we use every day. So they can be agents of social atomization. Sorry. I'm so excited. So go on, girls.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So our topic is how on-demand economy brings about social atomization on the example of streaming services. And we have also the quotes of Eve Williams, the Twitter co-founder, which Julia has also mentioned in her presentation. And I think that this perfectly conveys the message of on-demand economy and proves the significance of on-demand economy. So let us move on to the definition of this term. The on-demand economy is defined as the economic activity created by technology companies that fulfill the consumer demand via the immediate provisioning of goods and services. And supply is driven via an efficient, intuitive digital mesh layered on top of existing infrastructure networks. The number of enterprises, the categories represented, and the industry's growth are all increasing at a really rapid rate. And businesses in this new economy are the result of years of technological advancements and changes in customer behavior. And let us move on to the statistics. In line with Netflix usage statistics, the platform has registered a 17% growth since the beginning of 2020 and the third quarter of 2021. The 72% of Americans agreed with the statement, "I love my user experience with video streaming services," and 93% plan to either increase their streaming options or maintain the status quo. So there is an obvious upward trend, a tendency, which is unlikely to decrease. Here you can see the chart, which demonstrates information about the number of Netflix users over a 9-period period, and we can see that during the years the amount of users is only increasing. And here we can see the statistics about the attendance to cinemas in Russia, and we should emphasize that even after easing the COVID-19 measures, people should have started visiting cinemas and resorting to streaming services. However, as we can see from the first graph, the number of Netflix users is steadily increasing, and the second chart, as we can see, doesn't demonstrate any significant increase in cinemas even after easing the COVID-19 measures.
So now we are moving on to the social atomization, and let's talk about how do we get to that phenomenon. The tendency of social dissociation and disconnection is referred to as social atomization. It is a phenomenon which increasingly worries modern psychologists. It suggests social crisis, which is caused by the disintegration or absence of one's most important mechanism of social connection, which is the intermediate group. This results in a state of individual loneliness, interpersonal disorganization, moral disintegration, social alienation, and public isolation. The rapid development of technology accelerates and amplifies the effects of social atomization. The history of science and technology is as long as that of human civilization. Each advance in science and technology has propelled the development of human society. At the same time, science and technology are neutral. For example, the knife can be used both to cook and to kill. Similarly, science and technology inevitably have certain negative impacts on human society. Customization and personalization have significantly increased. The on-demand economy's growth is a result of its alignment with consumers' growing need for greater convenience, speed, and simplicity. With consumer behavior changing to prioritize fast, simple, and efficient experiences, the on-demand economy is growing at an unparalleled pace. The ease of filling spare time and picking and choosing one's hour is also appealing to those with skills to meet growing consumer demand.
So as you can see, social atomization is ubiquitous as many companies implement the on-demand economy. Netflix doesn't act alone. The streaming service is among many other technologies that impact human behavior, including the services which are provided by Amazon, for example, that allow humans to do their shopping online. The way Netflix uses information about the previous shows one watched parallels the way that YouTube history recommends videos, and it also resembles the algorithm that Facebook uses for the content it shows its users. So together, these technologies are separating people with different worldviews and experiences from each other. Because Netflix leads their viewers to new shows based on what was previously watched, it has the effect of creating a culture bubble. People who watch certain types of shows or movies will be more likely to watch the types of movies that fit models that more closely align with how they view the world. Without exposure to other types of media, people will not understand each other nearly as well. at the very least, people whose recommendation list do not have anything in common will have less to talk about. For example, people who prefer watching scientific documentaries have rather low probability to see a comedy or drama in their recommendation list, and a person who gives priority to watching a drama will not see some documentaries or films of other genres in his recommendations. Unfortunately, it will be harder for people to show empathy and tolerate the preferences and worldviews of other people due to the bubble that people are put in by the streaming services.
As regards the binge-watching capability, the binge-watching capability of Netflix might be leading to shorter attention spans. So gone are there days when we would wait a week for new content. We watch whole seasons in a day and finish TV series in a few weeks. Along with smartphones, which are almost always at our disposal, Netflix has created a means for constant entertainment. If we are bored, we need not think for more than a few moments before we open up the laptop and begin a Netflix marathon. The amount of content, and it's not necessarily all good, provides an endless stream of entertainment. Hours may be lost. The lack of commercials also adds to this inability to endure delays. Because so many people have portable devices and many different kinds of them, they can isolate and entertain themselves without having any other human contact. The power to watch almost any show we want within seconds has proven to be much for some, creating a sense of overchoice. And it has led to the decline of monoculture. The monoculture is the concept of overchoice, and it is used to describe instances in which an individual has a hard time making a choice when faced with too many options. This phenomenon fits perfectly with the core practices that streaming sites are based on. Overchoice correlates to the way in which monoculture is being destroyed, since when dealing with streaming sites, people are rarely watching the same thing at the same time. The main focus of monoculture is preserving a sense of unity. The unity that came along with the traditional consumption of media through a platform like TV. This is something that cannot truly occur with streaming sites. People are no longer brought together by just simply watching a show in the same room. Instead, they are now influenced by the watching habits of others. And this idea of how streaming culture both gives you too much freedom to the point that it forces you to follow trends is harmful to the society.
So in the bulk of this evidence, we can draw particular conclusions. All the mentioned issues are likely to lead to social inequality due to over-customization, which deprives people from making their own choice. People are exposed to become more myopic and start to look at the world from the window of their own silo. Fragmentation of society, primitivization, and increasing gap among people stem from this phenomenon. And what is more, it is going to become more complex to dive into another culture, which differs from yours due to the boundaries that on-demand economy builds. Actually, our lives become more diverse from reality and monotonous. So that is all. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much for your performance, and I guess that somebody have questions.
Yes, I would have a question. Girls, can you please tell me whether you have experienced consequences of culture bubble? For example, I can certainly remember times when I faced consequences of culture bubble with my parents, because we every day receive different information and perceive the world in different ways. So do you have such experience?
Who would answer the first?
You decide.
Okay. I would say that I think I have faced culture bubble. I think that I also have faced it with my parents, because definitely we have different preferences in films, genres, or music, for example. And when I take, for example, my playlist, my music recommendations, I only have the music that I have listened before. And for example, if I take my mother's or my father's, I would maybe find the music which I also like, but the music that I wouldn't find in my playlist, in my recommendation list, because the algorithm of the app has its own rules, let's say. So I think that, yes, I have faced such phenomenon.
Thank you so much for your question. I can say that I also have faced with this phenomenon. And in this case, speaking about films or series, I suppose that I tend to communicate more with those people who watch the same movies, the same series. I feel like we have closer connections with each other, and that is why it makes me kind of far away from others who, for example, have different tastes in music, films, or series, and so on.
Okay, thank you for the answers, girls, and thank you for the presentation. I enjoyed it very much.
So probably anybody else want to?
Yeah, I have also a question.
Great.
It was a really interesting presentation about culture bubble, and I was also thinking about it because I have a little brother and we have, huge difference in the age, and it also, I see how it influences on the different people of the different age. Nevertheless, I have some kind of a different question. How do you think COVID-19 influence on demand on economy? So do you think COVID-19 speed up the development of on demand economy?
I would say that it definitely has impacted, and it has definitely triggered, because the streaming services, for example, as well, we mentioned the cinemas. For example, before the COVID-19, people used to go to cinemas to attend them. And after COVID occurred in our lives, I think people started more rapidly shifting to streaming services, to online platforms. And I think, yes, that COVID-19 definitely was a trigger for that.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
Yes, and also at that time, many new streaming services were introduced and launched. And I can say that many people who own them put rather extreme, maybe aggressive advertisements in the social media. So people had no choice but to join them.
Yeah, I agree. I guess that, a lot of people starting to surfing the net more during the COVID-19. So we have a really high competitive with the cinemas and Netflix actually it wins. And also he had Netflix has really interesting brand proposition. So Netflix says that his main competitive is our sleep. So it is really interesting and fascinating, and it's really the way it works. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for this beautiful discussion. So, and let's go on our narrative of new human behavior trends. So I want to introduce Anna Kurulova and Elvira Shoshenadeva with their topic also on new human habits. So how remote work will remotely influence business HR strategies. So girls, go ahead, share your screen.
Okay, now
Can you see that?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes, I think we can start. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by welcoming you all. My name is Zen, and my colleague is Elia. And before we start, would like to say thanks for listening our presentation. Now we want to present you our project, which called How Remote Work Will Remotely Influence Business HR Strategies. And the next slide, please. Let's start with our research part. Before starting the research, we studied a lot of sites with information about how people's lives have changed since the beginning of pandemic. And first, we analyzed various internet sources and scientific articles. Next, we built hypotheses on the basis of which we further built our study. We chose the survey as our research method because we wanted to get a real data on our hypothesis regarding remote work. We used a Google survey and sent it out to students from RANEPA, and we have compiled 10 main questions about how people's life have changed due to the remote work. And what about our target audience? It was RANEPA students from first to first year, aged from 18 to 23 years old. If we talk about number of respondents, it was 101, and 62% of women and 38% of men. Let's move on impact of COVID-19 on our lives. The coronavirus acted as a time machine that took us a couple years ahead, damaged by the new digital habits that have appeared and are already ingrained. If we talk about examples, for example, developers adapt to the changed situation by launching online channels, short tours, broadcast from construction sites, consultation through Zooms, and some offer to complete the transaction completely online without visiting the offers, and there are buyers who are ready to go for it. Also, interesting fact, the internet has become the first necessity of like electricity or heat in winter, and some with even came up with a main, placing Wi-Fi at the base of Maslow's pyramid, reflecting base human needs. Thus, the internet has become even more important than psychological needs such as hunger, thirst, etc. And in our opinion, in this joke, which very eloquently reflects humanity's idea of what the internet means to him today, there is only a fraction of a joke.
Yes, so now you can see main areas that have changed. Of course, the first is medicines. Companies have developed a solution for medical organizations that optimize communication with patients. The second is work. People have changed the model of working with clients, basically replaced live communication with online. Thirdly, entertainment. People started drinking with friends by chat, or someone started playing in computer games, began to actively use dating apps, and etc. And finally, of course, this is food. Many people have started ordering delivery regularly. And so we can observe how all spheres of life change. To sum up, maybe some of us won't be coming back to the office anymore. Companies will appreciate the benefits of teams whose members fully or partially work remotely, because there is no need to spend money on an employee's workplace. In some cases, an office is not needed. People work in comfortable conditions for themselves. The employees themselves also tasted the charms of the offline format. There are no early rises a couple of hours before the working day. There is no need to stand in traffic jams and etc. Distance education pays the first stress test. We looked at how it works and some problems with it. And sports and training at home are gaining popularity.
Now let's move on the research part and confirm the above with examples. Next slide, please. The first, have you everyday habits changed because of remote work? And we can see that majority of the respondents have changed their daily habits due to remote work. How has remote work affected the number of communications in your life? And to a greater extent, remote work has affected the number of communications. More than 50% of respondents have further communication in their lives. And do you manage to maintain self-discipline when working remotely? And we understand that it's pretty easy for many people to stick to their work schedule now. For most, it was smooth for the whole day until late in the evening or mixed with everyday household chores. And many people had a desire to just down during the working day to relieve nervous tension. If we asked about difficult for you to stick to your work schedule when working remotely, and however remote work didn't affect the self-discipline of the majority of respondents, they managed to maintain discipline throughout the day. And it should be noted that it's quite difficult for many to adhere to clear work schedule when working remotely. Do you have more free time when working remotely? And most respondents know that they have more free time since remote work saves time on the road and so on. And for most people, it turned out to be simple to observe discipline. Working from home, they can break from difficult tasks, switching to household chores. This increases productivity and prevents emotional burnout. Do you manage to differentiate between your personal life and work when working remotely? Respondents can easily differentiate between personal life and work when they work at home. And how is your working day at home compared to the office? It's a popular question for all people now, and they said that we decided to compare work and work at home and work in office, and the opinion was divided into two groups. Respondents who are comfortable working at home, and those for working at home groundhog day. Have you felt anxiety and fear when working remotely? And speaking about the psychological state, the situation is similar. For some, the psychological state has not changed. For others, on the contrary, it has improved and stabilized. And the last two questions, would you like to return to the office completely? And we also decide to find out if the respondents want to return to the office completely. The study showed that more respondents would like to work in a hybrid format. And has remote work affected your performance? We analyzed that remote work didn't affect the effectiveness of employees.
Thanks, Anne. Of course, for us, future HR managers, it's important to understand the human resource market with the constant transformation of the modern environment. On this slide, you can get acquainted with the statistics of the areas in demand. In this research, they asked companies
what is working, and you can see there are a lot of things. Most of these programs are focused on communication, such as virtual coffee break, happy hours to help employees socialize, and etc. Also remote work and ongoing health and well-being. On this slide, in this research, they also asked what are some of the challenges you faced. As you can see, they fall into the areas of coordination, integrated communication, and rapid response. Many HR teams are not designed for agility, rather they are designed as service delivery functions. In this world, HR teams have to immediately create response teams and quickly empower local business partners to act locally with global coordination. We also propose to consider what methods to improve work efficiency are used by professional HR managers. The first is focus on people first and economic second. Secondly, develop rapid response teams that cross organizational boundaries. And also, HR departments must build a crisis response muscle, learn quickly how to distribute authority and coordinate activity, and implement real-time data collection and listening and communication programs. Now we want to show our recommendations as future HR managers. First, it's important to help employees feel that what they are doing not only makes sense, but is essential to the company. Everyone needs to understand that what their professional contribution to the common sense is therefore performance management programs and the reward system in the current environment are becoming increasingly important. And secondly, mentors begin to play an important role in our life. Many companies are relaunching mentoring programs to make them more user-friendly. A mentor can not only share experience, facilitate the adaptation of a new employee, but also help with understanding what is happening, motivate, inspire, and a lot of activities. Initially, we set ourselves the following hypotheses. Here you can see most of them. Obviously, not all hypotheses coincided with our assumptions because in a couple of years, people have quietly adapted to a new life and can no longer imagine how to live without coronavirus. Comparing several studies with the actual one we conducted, we realized that people love a new life and wouldn't like to return to the past world because now the world has digitalized and simplified many everyday features. If in the future you want to contact us and discuss our research in more detail, then you can see the contact information on this slide. Okay, on this slide you can see our sources. Well, thank you for attention. Any questions?
Thank you very much, girls. I think that's this is a very acute topic in our reality. I have such a question. In your opinion, what format of work is the most effective? Which do you prefer?
I think it depends on the area of work. In the work of a recruiter or a HR manager, both work options are possible. But personally, it would be more comfortable for me to work remotely, so as not to depend on the place, on the office. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any other questions? Okay, so let's move on. So we're just going on our narrative of changing human behavior. So we go a bit darker. So because our next speakers, Daria Sadovnikova and Anastasia Yershova, will perform a study on how social networks, so something that must have been connect people, actually negative impact on social connections, so such a controversy. So Daria, Anastasia.
Thank you very much. One moment. Can you see the slide?
Oh, yes, I do. Perfect.
Yes, great. So I think we can start. We are really pleased to welcome you all here today, dear colleagues. Today, Anastasia and I will tell you about our research on the impacts of social media on social communications among teenagers, as Elizaveta has said right now, and dig a little bit deeper into the so-called Generation Z and that special characteristics that makes them so different from all of us. So first of all, let's see what's the agenda for today. First of all, we will cover the question, who is Generation Z and why they're so special. Then we will look into the main characteristics of this generation. Then we will cover our hypothesis and results of our own study, survey among teenagers. And then we will sum up and wrap up our presentation and answer all of your questions. So I think we can start. So what is the principal importance of this topic for us at this time? First of all, it is important to point out that Zoomers are a generation which was born since 2005, according to the Russian generation theory that was developed by Evgenia Shamis and Evgeny Nikonov. According to this theory, Zoomers are the first generation in the human history which was born in the age of technology, literally with smartphones in their hands. Today's teenagers, as we all know and can see, cannot imagine their lives without gadgets and smartphones, and seem to spend their whole life in there and with them. They have grown up in a world of big data, in a world where there is so much information noise, and there is almost no opportunity to be alone with themselves. Now the floor goes to Anastasia.
Thank you, Daria, and I agree, it all sounds quite innovative, and it really seems that our younger generation is literally keeping up with the times, with the digital developments of the world. But what is the price of this? And in order to answer this question, we have studied a lot of material and conducted our own research, which my colleague will talk a bit later. And based on our analysis, we identified the following personality traits of the Generation Z, which differentiate them from others. So, first of all, of course, it is clip mentality, which manifests itself in the perception of the world through short and vivid images. And this generation, in fact, can't concentrate for a long period of time and is constantly jumping from one object to another. They are fidget and very active, and therefore these children often have an academic difficulties due to their impatience, even though they may be gifted in particular areas. So regarding socialization, more and more communication now is moving to an online format. And today's Zoomers, they don't know how to build problematic communication. They are not able to make logical connections and argue their point of view. They no longer appreciate face-to-face communication, and it's a huge problem. Moreover, it's important to know that the communicative distance itself between children and their parents is increasing, because parents nowadays play less and less of an authority for their children, because the internet is becoming the unknown authority who can really teach something. So we decided to find out to what extent gadgets have really become an integral part of generation that's life, and how teenagers actually perceive social media and the impact of social networks on their lives. On the slides, there are some hypotheses for our study that I would like to read out. That first one is that Zoomers prefer to write a message or email to solve a problem rather than call or approach in person. Teenagers suffer from the fear of missing out that leads to even more time on social media. Teenagers don't separate their online activity into separate pastime because it's a part of their everyday life. And the last one is that most teenagers spend almost all their waking hours online. So 100 respondents between the age of 11 and 17 took part in our survey. And now my colleague Daria will talk about the highlights of the research.
Yes, thank you, Anastasia. As we've already mentioned, there was 100 respondents, teenagers. So the first and really important question was if they consider themselves addicted to social media. About a half of respondents actually admit being addicted to that, and another quarter do not consider gadget addiction to be a problem. The next important thing to point out, you can see a bar chart in the right side of the slide. On average, teenagers spend 5 to 7 hours a day, or even being online all day long. Based on this, we conclude that Zoomers actually do not separate their social media activity and actually the usage of gadgets from their daily lives. Moving on to the next question, the vast majority, it was counted on average 80 out of all respondents, more consume content on the social networks rather than produce it. So we can say that they are more passive followers. On this basis, we can talk about the fear of missing out. In fact, FOMO is an obsessive and really strong fear of anxiety because of missing something, probably the newest information, some news of their closest friends, and actually feeling that something important is passing by you. FOMO is a phenomenon of the social media era, in fact. Some researchers like Edward Deci and Richard Ryan of Harvard University explain that the former is in fact the cause of social media addiction. The emergence of this phenomenon is also explained by the illusion of closure, of the need of belonging, and of the need to communicate with others. And in fact, it suggests only the illusion of that, but not the fulfilling the need itself. So this traps people into a vicious circle, spending more and more time online, but still not feeling satisfied by the social connection that actually are in their lives. As a result, people themselves isolate from real life communication, and they try to replace it with a substitute in the form of social networking that is in fact not really effective. Moving next, one of the most important highlights of our results was checking the symptoms, so to say, of the social media addiction. And the most frequent ones are frequent checking respondents' phones and their messengers, in fact. So this actually, again, highlights the phenomenon of fear of missing out, as they are really afraid of missing something. 62 people casually spend all day long on their gadget, smartphone, or whatever, and they don't feel it as a problem. And another half of respondents report difficulty concentrating on their studies or work due to the constant distractions on their gadgets, on the notifications they get from messengers and from any other social media they have. So there is a visible, strong desire to stay informed about the latest news, about the things that are going on in their friend's life. And there is, in fact, a general disconnect between social networking and general life, everyday life. So now the floor goes to Anastasia.
Thank you. And to sum up the results of the survey, it's important to know that a key message, a key idea that was running through each of our questions in the survey was the inseparability of social media and other forms of social communication among teenagers, because they grew up with a phone in their hands, and for them social networks are not, as for us, an additional and supplemental way of communication, but it is the main and even the only one. So they don't even highlight their relationship with gadgets as a problem or an addiction. And we can conclude that all the hypotheses of our research were confirmed. And I believe that it is crucial now to talk about the negative role of social media in interpersonal communication, because of the constant presence of gadgets in their lives. Generation that teenagers are becoming increasingly asocial, separated from each other, and generally speaking, in the future, there will be a hyperactive society in which people will have a greater need for novelty, a search for sensations. They will be less patient and less tolerant, and there will be an obvious tendency for increased conflict due to inability to communicate. To be honest, that was all that we would like to say, and I hope it was really thought-provoking, and now we're willing to answer all of your questions. If you have any.
Yeah, there are 2 people.
So any questions?
And so I can start with my question. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was really good, and it's kind of my favorite topic about people, about Generation Z, because it really, this generation really differs from another people. Say, you a lot said about FOMO, fear of missing something. So do you think should social medias somehow do something with FOMO effect on their platforms? For instance, should they restrict some of contact in order to to lower this negative effect on people?
Thank you very much for such an interesting question. We believe that the appearance of fear of missing out, in fact, it's a sort of people's own responsibility, as that's their own perception of everything that is going around. And I think it's not really honest on the side of social networks, any type of, to restrict anything, because that's actually the main goal of the existence of social networks, to provide different types of information. So I would say that it's much more important to highlight the importance of the mental health of the phenomenon of fear of missing out, actually, in the social media, in order to show people that there is such a problem and there is a possibility to control it. And there is, in fact, in most of the cases, there is nothing urgent going on around, and there is no need to be always in touch, always in contact. So I would say the answer is in balance between the mindfulness of the users and the content that social media provides.
Thank you for your answer. It's really good. I'm totally agreed with the idea that we should provide more information in social medias about FOMO effects. We should provide more somehow mental health to, especially for the teenagers who are sitting at home and they are somehow alone. So you have really good ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have another question, if you don't mind. Well, you discussed Zoomers a lot, and they're still kind of a younger generation. What do you think will happen when they actually get a job? How should businesses deal with them?
I will try to answer a question. Well, it will certainly be much harder to work with Zoomers as they're a completely new generation to us with a different type of behavior, with a different type of thinking. However, we already know for sure that the gamification format will suit them perfectly in training, in work. And I think that in our practice that more and more modern companies nowadays are using this method, and they're trying to create a favorable working environment that will Zoomers appreciate, really.
Thank you. That's great. There are already solutions in place. Thank you for the answer.
Sorry. So thank you very much, guys, for the discussion. So let's go on in human behavior trends. So, and the next speaker will generalize all that digital gadgets, etc. Concept to transhumanism. So, Nikolai Sokolov. So, go on.
Thank you.
Share your exciting topic.
Thank you. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's great. Well, hello everyone. I'm glad we're all here, and today I want to talk with you about transhumanism. Well, what's on the agenda today? First of all, I'll tell you a bit about the research I conducted, what I looked into, what I wanted to find, Then I'll tell you what transhumanism is, what the vision of your future is, and then I'll present some case studies which can maybe highlight some of the potential problems with the worldviews. Well, let's talk about the research. My research was aimed at, well, researching transhumanism, its view of humanity, and, well, find some potential problems with it along the way. At the core of my research, there was transhumanist literature, because it's the best way to actually get into their brains, see how they think, see what they want to accomplish in the world. After that, after I analyze their beliefs and their worldview, I try to outline the potential concerns and show why their concerns via a case study. Well, let's turn to my findings. So, what is transhumanism and how did it begin? Well, some early transhumanist thought can be traced to about like 1927, maybe even earlier, but 1927 is usually the year when it begins. Later, it has been formalized by Max More, who was one of the pioneers of modern transhumanism. He took all the beliefs and kind of put them all together and created the first ever definition of transhumanism. He defined it as a class of philosophies of life that seeks the continuation and acceleration of the evolution of intelligent life beyond its currently human form and human limitations. He says it will be done by means of science and technology, and it will be guided by life-promoting principles and values. But here I'll provide a slightly more modern and maybe more relevant definition, because transhumanism is the study of implications, promises, and potential dangers of the technologies that will enable us to overcome fundamental human limitations, as well as the related study of the ethical matters involved in developing and using such technologies. I should add that in this worldview, a transhuman is a biological technological organism, a transformation of the human species, where we continue to evolve along with the technology. So why do I give you all of those definitions? Because I think that this definition can actually help us better understand how transhumanism sees our future. Because transhumanism is also sometimes defined as a worldview, and it seeks a quality of life that brings progress, self-transformation, optimism, critical thinking. It will help us transcend far beyond our current state as ordinary humans and become something far, far more superior. And these ways to transcend our humanity can be anything. It can be implants, it can be prosthetics like you can see in the picture, artificial limbs. You can even nano-engineer the human body itself or upload your consciousness into a computer. These technologies can help us overcome aging, eradicate disease, support existing ecosystems. With advanced technology, every person, whether race, gender, religion, we all have an opportunity to be impactful. The world future for transhumanism is a world where our shortcomings are fixed by technology. So if your body or your mind cannot do something, help you out. But with all those gadgets, there is a question. Will such technology benefit only the rich and the powerful? And can transhumanism actually solve the social divide instead of just worsening it? Well, transhumanists themselves kind of admit that, yes, social divide will worsen. Because at first, those enhancing technologies, they'll be expensive. And only the rich and the powerful, they'll be able to buy them. And since these technologies actually enhance us as human beings and make us superior, these elites can accumulate even more money because they'll be better than everyone else. And it'll even further increase social inequality, not just in money, but in actual human capacity. But transhumanists still believe that this will go away. And in time, technologies will become cheaper, everybody will have at least some access to them. And most importantly, it will bring about better quality of life. Because I think you can agree with me on this one, that we right now, as average people, will live far better than, let's say, a king in the Middle Ages. And this is in part due to the technological progress, due to the fact that we have now better, more sophisticated technology helping us out. And they say that this same perpetual progress will actually help smooth this divide in the future, make it smaller a little bit. Well, but this is still just theory, and even though this explanation has some valid points, it should be noted that trying to predict 100 years into the future can be quite risky. especially now in the current situation where basically everything is unpredictable. But if you look at all of those points from the perception of the modern enterprise, of business practices of today, do they actually hold up? If we had these technologies today, can we assure that everything would be good? Well, let's see. First case to analyze is the Phoebus cartel. This was a cartel of incandescent light bulb producers, and they were formed in the 1920s. Back then, an average light bulb would last from about 1500 to 2000 hours, which is quite a lot. But the longer the light bulb lasts, the longer you don't have to replace it, the less light bulbs you buy. And it wasn't good for the people who manufactured them, because they are losing profits. So, in 1924, three biggest manufacturers, and some other smaller ones, decided to create a cartel. As you can see, some of the members were Osram, Philips, General Electric. They have decided to artificially reduce the lifespan of a light bulb to just about 1000 hours. And through clever engineering and even cleverer marketing, they actually did it. Moreover, even now, those same incandescent light bulbs only last about 1000 hours. So this gambit actually lasted for 100 years. Granted, now they're kind of becoming obsolete due to LED lighting, but still, this cartel's idea worked. And that was very impressive. Managed to leave such an impact on our lives. And as much as it's impressive, it's also kind of scary, because imagine if just how much corporations can actually affect our lives. How much they can, just for the sake of some extra profit, they can make our lives less convenient. And all of these light bulbs are very interesting, but generally this is not the most important part of this cartel's legacy. The most important part is planned obsolescence, because this cartel introduced this concept. In simple words, planned obsolescence is a business strategy in which a product is designed so it will become either unfashionable or impossible to use, and you'll have to replace it. This concept was pioneered by them, and this is a very scary concept for transhumanism, because the companies can make the software or even the hardware basically useless in a couple of years. And consider this with the combination of actually altering your body and your mind. There are so many potential problems. Like, imagine you wake up one day and suddenly your left arm is not functioning, your mind is kind of foggy, your right eye sees red, and you don't know what to do. You think this is hangover or maybe some kind of disease, but actually it's a big corporation removing some of your bodily functions because you didn't pay a subscription. And if you consider that, we actually see a future for transhumanism. And if you think this is like tall tales or me just trying to paint a scary picture, this actually happens in the real world. For example, Apple admitted to artificially slow down their older iPhones. They even faced a lawsuit in France because of this same planned obsolescence. But let's say the companies won't try to make it obsolete. They'll actually try to put down a good product. Still, nothing stops them from charging you a very big amount of money for it. Let's look at the case of overpriced insulin. This is a very recent controversy in the US, and it's also part of the problem. Because according to a report by Human Rights Watch, prices for insulin, increased by 6 times. Look, because if you look at this graph, in 1991 they were quite cheap, but now it's even higher. And of course, you can argue that America has health insurance and it covers those costs. But in reality, not everybody is eligible for this health insurance. And this creates a layer of people who can gravely suffer due to companies deciding to inflate those prices. Yes, it should be noted that in recent years, because of all the scrutiny of all the public attention to this problem, the prices have been more or less kept in check. But in reality, they're still often too high for an average customer, and people even have to ration insulin, which can lead you to a hospital or even death, just because the prices are way too high. But what if we apply these concepts to transhumanism? This situation can be even worse. Because if you look at insulin, there are arguments like saving lives and protecting those who really need this protection. But transhumanist implants and upgrades are voluntary by nature. So these same arguments do not apply, and companies can just charge you as much as they want for let's say a new eye or a new arm, and there won't be any like moral complications about it. Well, what do I have to say in the end? Transhumanism is a way of life which sees the betterment of humanity through technological progress. And the proponents will say that these technologies will change life for the better. But to be honest, even now, big corporations show that they can do a lot to either keep these advancements to themselves or make a fortune selling them to the public. This can even further widen the gap between the rich and the poor. But transhumanists have one ally in this whole charade, and it's time, because they're willing to wait 100 years, 200 years for all of these technologies and their desired outcomes to take place. So, are they right? Maybe the world will be a better place in 100 years, but only time will tell. With that, I want to end my talk. If you have any questions, you can ask them. These are some of my contacts if you want to actually write to me about transhumanism or anything like that.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. So, go ahead.
Yes.
I guess you have a question.
It was very interesting. Thank you for your presentation. And I have one question. What technologies are there now, and how good are they?
Well, according to my knowledge, there are 3 to 4 branches of transhumanism which are actually worth it to talk about. Because first is prosthetics. I think that if you people usually don't really follow this topic, but when you look at prosthetics now, they're actually far more advanced than what we had maybe 10 years ago. And while still you wouldn't replace your arm for a mechanical one, we're not there yet. But these prosthetics are actually good, and they help out people who are missing some of their limbs. Also, there is Neuralink by Elon Musk, which are chips you can upload into your brain. This project is still in the development phase, but knowing Elon Musk, he'll probably get it done. So that's something I would say I should be on lookout for. Lastly is cryosis, which is basically putting people in ice, freezing them, and then trying to wake them up later in life, or maybe 100 years later. This is still highly disproven, and there are still many doubts if this is actually will happen or not. But a lot of transhumanism actually bet on it for it to happen. So this is also one of the technologies I should highlight here. Did I answer your question?
I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. It was really interesting, and it was the first time when I heard about these ideas in such details. So it was very helpful for me. And my question, do you support the ideas of transhumanism?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Thank you very much. Personally, I like their more technological approach, because honestly, all of the movies which I watched as a kid were Star Wars, so all of those technology, space travel, limb replacement is kind of child dream of sorts, maybe. So in some ways I'd support them, but through a more grown-up lens, there are a lot of problems. But if anything, I would want to see their ideas succeed, because it sounds like an interesting future to have more capabilities than you already have.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation.
So thank you very much for your performance. And probably somebody else have any questions? Okay, so let's move to another activity. So we will just vote for the best speaker. So I share the link in the chat. So I just give you, I guess, 30 seconds to, okay. So you have 15 seconds for your decision. Okay.
And where is the link? I don't see it in the chat here.
Yes, wait to...
Yes, there is no link.
Oh, you didn't have it, sorry. Okay. So, I shared it in the chat here, so sorry for that. No. Okay, so now you have 1 minute to vote for the best speaker.
I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I think I have the same issue. It just says that you have to start the poll.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry for that, some technical issues. So give me a sec. Sorry for that. So, okay, try one more time for this. Okay. So let me share the link. Okay, so I think now it works. So vote for the best speaker. So, are you ready to see the results?
Yes.
Okay. So let me share my screen. So we can see the results. Here we go. So, see your excitement goes like, the speakers for today are Anna Kurugava and Elvira Shashanaleva. So congratulations, girls. So the second place goes to Daria Sadovnikova and Anastasia Shova. So and the third place go to Nikolai Sokolov. So congratulations, guys. So you will have certificates like for the best speakers with honors. So thank you very much. May I ask you to have a photo, like a group photo? So turn on your cameras, please. Speakers, experts, everyone. So I will do a screenshot. Okay. So one, two, okay, so still waiting for some speakers to turn on the cameras. Okay, everybody's ready? Are you ready? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, smile. So that's it. So let me just say a few words before we just close the discussion. So guys, thank you very much for this experience. So I guess that, technological progress, consumer comfort, as we said today, leads to change in social connections, social structure. And so I guess that we still do not look for a silver lining, but we can take reality as it is with its controversy, act change, and build silver lining ourselves. So thank you very much. Julia, thank you very much to being an expert today. So it was a great pleasure.
Yeah,
So,
it was really, interesting to participate, and you all guys are brilliant. You have brilliant ideas, and I really wish you good luck in your future plans, in your future career paths. So I'm really, I was really in love with the situation, with this discussion. It was really good. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So have a nice evening, nice weekends. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, girls.
Goodbye.
Thank you so
Good
much.
discussion.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.